Hey there, adventure seekers. It's time for another one of our patented UTR road trip adventures. And this time, we're cruising Woodward Avenue. We'll do some time travel in Detroit, make our way to Palmer Park for some classic Italian, and find Ferndale for an awesome Michigan-made market. Then, it's Birmingham to make you a gourmet in minutes and a chance to meet the real Batman in Bloomfield Hills. It's all on Woodward and all on this road trip edition of Under the Radar.
Support for Under the Radar Michigan comes from the Michigan State Housing Development Authority. For 50 years, MSHDA has been proud to help thousands of Michigan residents find a home and open all the possibilities found within. MSHDA, opening possibilities.
Everyone loves a great story, whether it's the classics we grew up with or the ones handed down through history. But what about the comeback stories, where what's new meets what's next? And why meets why not? Let's dive into the latest chapter of Detroit and the unmistakable vibe of pure Michigan. Your trip begins at michigan.org.
Additional support provided by Habitat for Humanity of Michigan, bringing people together to build homes, communities, and hope.
I've been around the world, but there's one place I keep coming back to. And the more I explore, the more I realize it's the place to be. I'm Tom Dalton, and this is Under the Radar, Michigan. Well, welcome to another one of our totally awesome official UTR road trip adventures. Now, this is where we pick a really cool Michigan road, drive down it, and see what we discover along the way. And this time we picked Woodward Avenue. Why Woodward, you ask? Well, for gosh sake, it's Woodward Avenue.
Woodward Avenue is one of the most iconic drives in all of America. It's been designated an automotive heritage trail, an all-American road, a pure Michigan byway, and has had a rich and romantic love affair with the car and all the towns it touches for well over 100 years. Almost anything you want, need, or even crave you'll find along its 21.5-mile stretch. This is one of the few roads with a rep, and you'll instantly become cooler just by driving on it. Woodward Avenue is in southeast Michigan and runs from downtown Detroit, northwest, all the way out to the city of Pontiac.
Now, as you all know, at UTR we love history because it reminds me of all the stuff I forgot to remember. So with that thought in mind, and before I forget it, I thought we'd start things off at the Detroit Historical Museum. Yeah, I remembered something. Now, how do you start this thing? That doesn't sound good.
The Detroit Historical Museum is one of the best places you can go to learn about this great city. For 83 years, this fascinating place has chronicled the life and times of this entire region. And it's right here in Detroit and right here on Woodward Avenue for you to explore. Now, to make sure I remembered my history this time, I met up with senior curator Joel Stone, and he took me way back in Detroit time.
You know, usually museums are sleepy places, but this place is anything but that. It's so interactive and so colorful.
Thanks. We have a lot of fun here.
Is that your fault?
Partly. I can be blamed, yeah.
Now, we're doing a road trip special that's about Woodward Avenue. We're like starting in Detroit. We're going to drive all the way out, the length of the road and see what we find.
Great stuff.
Now, you've got a great history of Woodward. There was actually a Judge Woodward.
There was a Judge Woodward. He was a character. He was the first Supreme Court justice in Michigan, back when this was the territorial headquarters. And after the big fire in 1805, he designed a plan for the city that was crazy. And then he happened to name the main street Woodward because he claimed it went toward the woods.
Right.
I don't think they believed him then. We don't believe him now.
But what's great about this museum also is you can actually walk through history. There's that entire street downstairs where you actually, tell me about that.
The streets of Old Detroit is probably our favorite crowd pleaser. It's 1840, 1870, and 1900 in Detroit, and you get to walk on the cobblestones, you get to walk on the old cedar streets. People love it.
Tell me about some of the other really cool exhibits you've got here.
We've got, well, let's go chronologically. If we go back to before the American Civil War and talk about the Underground Railroad, which was, Detroit played a huge part in that, our Doorway to Freedom exhibit kind of walks you through the trip that an unfree person would have made to get up to Detroit, to get over to Canada, where they were free. We then have another exhibit about the arsenal of democracy during World War II. Detroit companies and the people of Detroit made 1/3 of all the stuff that the Allies used during the war.
A third?
A third of all the stuff we used. Helmets. If you saw a GI with a helmet on, chances were 9 out of 10 it was made about a mile from here up on East Grand Boulevard.
Why do you think history is so important?
History is important because I think when we look back, we get a sense of where we're going as we go forward. You know, and Detroit being one of the oldest cities in North America, we've got a lot of history here. So we've gone through economic cycles, just like we went through a recent one. You know, it'll happen again, we know that. So maybe if we learn from the last one, we can use that to get us through the next one.
And you know what I love about history? It's the gift that keeps giving, because we keep making more.
Oh, absolutely. And the older we get, the better we are at it.
We could be an exhibit. Ready? Let's do it. Let's be an exhibit.
This place has awesome exhibit after exhibit. And after spending some quality time here, I started to feel pretty proud about where I'm from. The Detroit Historical Museum is a way back building you should definitely build into your schedule. Just do yourself a favor. Try to remember not to forget it.
You know, all of us have an inner Italian just waiting to get out to celebrate life and enjoy good food. Well, mine got out and drove straight up Woodward and brought me to this place. He's a good boy.
Just north of 6 Mile on the east side of Woodward and tucked away in Palmer Park is what Italians would call a little slice of heaven. Now, you may drive by it a few times before you see it, but once you find it, you'll never forget it. La Dolce Vita is the real deal when it comes to genuine Italian cuisine. And if you want atmosphere, this place is more romantic than red sauce and offers something Italians perfected: garden dining. Now, before I start repeatedly uttering the phrase, "Please pass the pasta," I thought I should find out how this slice of Italy has eluded my personal pizza for so long. So me and my inner Italian sat down with owner Enrico Roselli.
On this show, we're used to featuring places that are a bit under the radar, but this little slice of Italian paradise is way under the radar. I mean, I drove by it 3 times before I found it. Is that by design?
Yes, that is by design. When I discovered La Dolce Vita, I asked the guest that was with me, "Where are you taking me?" And it was close at the time until I got to the gate. And then I looked inside and I saw the potential. And I had confirmation when I bought it. My wife was in Florida. She came back. I picked her up and I was taking her here. She said, "Where are you taking me?" I said, "Wait." When she got to the gate, the magic happened. She said, "What a beautiful little spot."
Now, I was just recently in Italy, and this is the closest thing I can find to actually being over there. I think maybe, are you from Italy?
Yes.
What part of Italy are you from?
I was born in Calabria.
Ah.
Short stay in the north of Italy, so I consider myself Calabrese, and came in America in '78.
What does La Dolce Vita mean, if I'm saying it correctly?
Means the sweet life, and it's, I took it because there is a movie from Fellini where, you know, in Italy, the movie star, they live a nice, lavish life, and I want to give them a piece of the good life here in Detroit.
So you've been at this location 20 years.
June 6, 1995, I opened.
Yeah, we actually snuck in here last weekend. Sorry about that. And the place was full of people. The courtyard was full of people. And I don't think I've seen more happy people enjoying wonderful food in my life. How does that make you feel when you come in here?
I sit by the gate. Not too many people know that I own the place. And that's what makes me feel great, because it's a hard business to do. But when you get such a compliment, look at this place, how long it's been here. And all those compliments, talking about the ambience and the food, and see all the happy faces, that's what makes me happy and come back the next day with more strength and energy to keep on going.
What's great about being on Woodward Avenue?
To me, Woodward is like the aorta to the heart. It's the main entrance to Detroit, the avenue of avenue. So I'm at the door, so I try to do a good job Because if you come to my house, you're going to judge me from my driveway. If it's messy, imagine my house.
Would you do it all over again?
Oh yeah, in a second.
Enrico was one of the most genuine and gracious hosts we've ever encountered on UTR. He sat us down, filled us up, and shared story after story about his fascinating life and love for people. So next time your inner Italian gets out, don't worry, just hop in your car and head to La Dolce Vita, because that's where he or she will probably be. And who knows, maybe it's even their turn to buy. Bonus. A few miles up Woodward in fabulous Ferndale is a place known as the Rust Belt Market. It sits proudly on the northwest corner of creativity and business, also known as Woodward and 9 Mile. But what exactly is the Rust Belt Market? Well, I'll tell you.
It's an eclectic mixed market of talented local merchants and has absolutely nothing to do with the Rusty Belt. Found that out the hard way. Anybody got a safety pin?
You see, I told you I'd tell you. If you're into supporting and purchasing local, the Rust Belt Market is a must-stop on Woodward Avenue. From art and edibles to wearables and collectibles, you'll find tons of locally made products, services, and even events at one very cool space. It's a great concept that does great things for this community. There's so much to see and explore here, I thought it would be best to secure the services of the man who had the original plan. Along with his wife, Tiffany, Chris Best has taken the concept of buying local to a whole other level.
I've heard this place referred to as the face of downtown Ferndale. How does that make you feel?
Whoa, that's heavy.
But that's true.
Yeah, that's nice. I appreciate that. I guess that kind of has to do with the creativity of how everybody kind of came together, and we are kind of a community business, so I can see that.
Well, plus I've heard people refer to this place as a living market because it reflects the community.
Yeah, so that kind of separates us from the normal brick and mortar, like the mall, any kind of other retail setting, is that we have 50 independently owned and operated shops in here every single weekend. So we try to keep it living and breathing, and good music, good atmosphere, have it fun and vibrant, and it's got its own energy.
I've also heard people refer to you as like the mayor. You and Tiffany, your wife, are like the mayors of the Rust Belt Market.
Well, we curate all of this, so we pick and choose the shops. So there's a lot of applications, and we kind of decide who gets to have a shop here and who doesn't. And the criteria is created or collected. So your shop has to have merchandise that is created or collected, meaning it has to be something that your brand is on, or you make yourself, or you go out into the world and collect it, whether it's vintage jewelry, vintage clothing, vintage goods, that sort of thing.
So nobody can buy a bunch of cheap stuff from overseas and come in here and just open a booth.
Exactly.
These are real artisans, this is
collectors.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, what's so neat about what you've done is you guys reinvented yourselves.
Correct.
And at the same time came up with a place for other people to reinvent themselves, to showcase themselves, to develop businesses. This place is almost like, it's like an incubator for creative people, it's just a great
And that
thing.
evolved, the incubation side of things evolved. We didn't set out to be an incubator, we set out to do something cool and to have, something where people could have creative people that make things and creative shoppers that like creative things. So, and then the incubation side just kind of happened.
This place really creates a sense of place in Ferndale. You can just come here just to connect with other people. You
Absolutely.
don't even have to buy anything.
No,
it's just a great place to be.
You're absolutely right. A lot of people don't buy anything. They just walk around and just kind of are immersed in the environment and the vibe that we have here. And that's the biggest compliment we get, is that we've got a great vibe. And you just kind of feel it. You mentioned living market.
Yeah.
You feel that energy. And that's one of the things that we get a lot of, the compliments.
If you want to do your part to help small businesses survive and thrive here in Southeast Michigan, stop by the Rust Belt Market and lay down a little cash. Not only will you get something really cool for it, your small investment will do big things to help change our future.
Now, when we left La Dolce Vita, I could swear that my inner Italian left with us. But instead, I guess he decided to hitch a ride up to this place. Now, normally I'd be kind of upset, but remember, he's a real nice boy.
That's right, we're back in Italy. Only this time it's on Old Woodward Avenue in Birmingham at Primi Piatti Gourmet Italian Market. a place where you can take a little bit of Italy home with you whenever you want. Owner Monica Bizignano Zamler's love for Italian art, culture, and of course cuisine is instantly obvious when you walk into this place. And you can taste the passion in everything she prepares.
I love finding people who have passion, which you have. And I understand your inner Italian got out a few years ago and you decided to create an authentic Italian market. What happened in your life to make that your decision?
Wow, that's a
Deep
long,
question.
it's a long story is the problem. No, I sat down one day and made a business plan to be in a completely different business, showed it to a good friend of mine that was very business savvy, and he said, "Are you crazy?
You look Italian."
That's not what I know about you." And he said, "What would you do if you could do it?" And I basically, you know, figure out what you love and how to make money doing it. And I told him all I love to do is cook, go to Italy, and talk to people all day.
Well, you are Italian.
So this is it.
Now, what is, it's Piatti, no, it's, how do I say it wrong? It's
Primi
Piatti.
Piatti.
Primi Piatti, which means?
First course. Oh. So technically it translates as first plate, but in Italy, together, the two words mean first course. Okay. And basically a first course in Italy is a pasta course. And this all started because I make fresh-made pasta every day.
Yes, and I understand you're going to try and teach me how to make, as Americans would say, gnocchis, but it's gnocchi.
Gnocchi.
Gnocchi. Mm-hmm. You really think I can learn to make gnocchi?
Sure, anybody can make gnocchi. The beauty about gnocchi is it doesn't really have to be pretty.
Okay, well, what's the first thing you do?
Okay, well, we're gonna put a little flour down.
Okay, now is this cutting board made from volcanic ash from Pompeii?
Yes.
Well, it looks like it. I only bring that up.
So my family, there's a couple ways to make gnocchi. Yeah. My family makes it with ricotta. Yeah. Some people make it with potato, but I think it's lighter and just tastes better if you do it with ricotta instead. Okay,
well, you go ahead and start and show me while I talk at you,
right.
Because you're probably already better than I am, because even though I am also, well, I'm half Italian.
Can you talk and make a snake at the same time?
No.
Okay.
No. Now, my family's from this part of Italy, if you can see this right here. Mm-hmm. But I understand your family is from Calabria? Mm-hmm. Everybody today is from Calabria. So is my wife's from Calabria. Uh-huh. Yeah, so very passionate people, wonderful food people.
We love food, we love family, we love passion, all of that, yes.
So this place, you have specialty hams, specialty cheeses. Tell me a little bit more about what you guys have.
I have an amazing selection of Italian meats. Everything that I can import from Italy, I do. Right. Unfortunately, salamis you still can't. But all of my cheeses are from Italy. And I work at getting the rarest cheeses that I can.
Well, what is it about the Italian food and culture that you love so much?
Well, I think it does obviously remind me of my childhood. We spent a lot of time cooking. My family loves food. It's very important to us. And it's very relaxing to me. It's stress relieving, it's tactile, and then in the end you get to eat it.
Well, now it was time to actually get to work making gnocchi. And guess what? Mine turned out so good, Monica told me they were too perfect to sell to her customers. Well, lucky for them and us, we were there during one of Monica's Tasting Tuesdays. And as the store filled with pleasant patrons who were passionate about pasta, we all shared, laughed, talked, ate great food, and reconnected with our inner Italians. Actually, I left mine there, so I have a good excuse to go back.
You know, of all the creatures in the animal kingdom, the one species that could really use a better PR person is the bat. And when you meet this Batman, you'll see they totally got it.
Meet Rob Miles, the real Batman who's changing the way we all think, feel, and interact with bats. He heads up the Bat Zone at the Cranbrook Institute of Science in Bloomfield Hills. It's also the headquarters for the Organization for Bat Conservation, and their main mission is to keep bats alive and thriving all around the world.
I have to be honest, when I told people I was coming here today, I got two totally polar opposite reactions. Half the people said, "Oh, that is so cool, I love bats. Let me know how it goes." And the other half of the people said, "Oh my gosh, you don't touch them, they're gonna bite you, you'll get diseases, they'll suck your blood." Why are bats so misunderstood?
Yeah, I think that's a huge problem that we have, is that there are people who just grew up fearing bats for a variety of reasons. Right. Maybe they had a childhood experience. Hi. Are you hungry?
Oh my gosh, they're coming over to eat. Now, why should we care about bats? Why should we be concerned about bats? Because I understand bats are endangered in some areas.
Yeah, throughout most of the world, unfortunately. So bats in Michigan and most in the United States only eat insects.
Oh,
and they're the
awesome.
primary predators of nighttime insects. So they eat moths, gnats, flies,
Mosquitoes?
beetles, mosquitoes. They eat up to 5,000 insects a night.
Oh, okay.
And recent research shows that they provide U.S. farmers upwards of $50 billion annually in insect control, so they don't have to spray as many pesticides. So economically, bats are really important. Ecologically, we like them because they fly around in our backyards and eat mosquitoes and flies and gnats. And they're an important part of the whole ecosystem. So that's just in the Great Lakes.
How long has the bat zone been here, and when did you get interested in bats?
You know, I got started studying bats 24 years ago.
Really?
In 1992, I realized
You had
that-
bats in your belfry, right?
That's right. I was at Eastern Michigan University studying with Dr. Al Kurta, who's one of the top bat biologists in the United States. And he had a bunch of grad students that were studying bats, and I was like, wait, what are you doing? And you go around at night, and you're in the swamps, and this sounds cool.
I was going to say, that sounds awesome.
I know, right? So I was like, we got to do this. So I was really interested, and I had a chance to go to Costa Rica and Australia, and I started finding out how important bats were. And so I started the Organization for Bat Conservation. And so I'm the founder and executive director, and we have full-time keepers, full-time educators. We travel all over the country.
When kids come to the bat zone, what's the experience like when they come in here?
So the Bat Zone has been here at the Cranbrook Institute of Science for 14 years, where the Organization for Bat Conservation partners with the Cranbrook education community to host this one-of-a-kind in the entire country. This is the only place like this. We've got 200 animals, 15 different species of rescued bats, and people can see the biggest bat in the world. And when kids come here, if it's a school group or with their family, they get to actually visit the Bat Zone, and they get to see these animals up close and personal.
So how many years have you been doing this?
I've been doing this for 24 years.
That says it all to me, because you've been doing this 24 years and you're still this excited about it and enthusiastic about it. You are the real Batman. Seriously, you are.
Once I got completely comfortable being around bats, Rob kicked things up a notch by introducing me to the guys who throw back the same stuff Dracula drinks. And I don't mean smoothies.
So these are the vampire bats. And you brought me in here because it's feeding time? Why are we in here?
Okay, so one of the reasons why to come into the vampire bat enclosure is that most people think vampire bats
Are giant. Yeah.
Are
You're
you-
gonna drink my blood?
are like the giant fruit bats, but vampire bats are really small. Look at how tiny that they are. Well, I'm gonna get one of the vampire bats here so we can take a look.
They're awfully quick.
Yes.
They're flying right by my head.
The vampire bats are the most intelligent bats of all species. They have such a high, they have a very large brain relative to their body size.
Unlike me. That's the opposite of me, right?
So she's looking at you right now.
Yeah.
She knows who you are. She's
Oh, you've seen the show?
She's echolocating.
You know, if I go to shave later and I don't see my reflection in the mirror, I'm calling you.
This is an experience your entire family will enjoy. So come to the Bat Zone at Cranbrook in Bloomfield Hills and meet your new best friends. Oh, and if you think you've got bats in your belfry, good, leave them there. They do great things for the ecosystem. And if you think a road trip is in your future, cruise up or down Woodward Avenue, a road where you can learn, eat, shop, and even show your support for the planet.
Oh, and if you see my inner Italian, could you tell him that my Irish side misses him? Thanks. Hey folks, thanks so much for watching Under the Radar Michigan. I really appreciate it. Look, if you want to know more about what we do, where we go, what we have, go to utrmichigan.com. You can get our brand new book, UTR The First 50. You can get DVDs of our shows. You can get wearables, even this brand new hoodie like the one I'm wearing right here. Pretty sweet, huh? So go to utrmichigan.com. You'll have fun, I guarantee.
Support for Under the Radar Michigan comes from the Michigan State Housing Development Authority. For 50 years, Mishta has been proud to help thousands of Michigan residents find a home and open all the possibilities found within. Mishta, opening possibilities.
We all have one, that perfect spot, a special place we go to smooth out the ripples of the day. Our perfect spot is calling. Our perfect spot is Pure Michigan. Your trip begins at michigan.org.